let's go ahead, dive on in. We go ahead and see Eclipse, Garbanzo, Shonnet Games, Serby, and a lot of other players diving on in.
They are.
And I could not be more excited.
Okay, they are going to show us the double. We will see the aerosprays come out from the side of Dionysus. I believe that is in blue, which is interesting. So there's a lot more pick potential and kind of more playmaking on the side of Eagle Agency 3. You'll see Garbanzo hang back there to make sure they cover the paint. That'll also build their special a little bit faster.
I appreciate that. I think it's one of the smart ways to do it, but already a little bit of invasion from High Dionysus. They're saying, hey, we want to go ahead and get in your face as much as possible, and that's causing some problems already. An elimination coming out here, which is really, really covered. As we mentioned, though, it's the dualies that are still alive here, whether they're going to make magic happen or not, and it's going to be Eagle Agency wondering exactly what's going on here. They lost to off rip, and now they're just kind of hemorrhaging for time.
Yeah, you can see they really can't fight in past that. Bloblobber in particular is just kind of setting that down. A Booyah Bomb did come out into the back, and that should get a little bit more space for them to push forward, but they're playing a little passively orbital. Another Booyah Bomb from the side of Dionysus is going to be balancing that out. In addition to that Tri-Strike, so all those specials from Dionysus High, from HGHS, are really just coming through to try to keep and deny that space.
Yep, I mean, this just feels a little bit overwhelming. Eagle Agency is still kind of hunting for their main proactivity, and I would be curious. I mean, we don't really get to see that over the top all the time, but it just feels like they haven't really left their side of the field just yet. They haven't really been able to invade on the other edge. Here comes the Booyah Bomb, tossed down twice, but that's after an elimination, so it really doesn't do that much. Right now, HGHS, as you called, are doing very, very well.
Yeah, that was two specials going in for no value, and now that's -2 with Ra coming up there and kind of winning the rest of the duel. A third for them means that they will get that space with a minute left. It's still not over, though. This is one of those game modes where, down to the last 30 seconds, you can even swing this back. But now with the space favoring Dionysus, they are looking good to close this out.
And we'll see if they can continue onwards. As we've talked about, you mentioned it, right? Last 30 seconds is big, but main thing is just keeping eyes on and think all the opponents. Yeah, look at this territory being given. The entirety of the last 2 minutes have been in that, I want to say, mid to midwestern quadrant of this map. And yet again, it's an annihilation of 1 and 1. A little bit of a splat problem here, as it might be a push back. We can actually see the Eagles maybe start making their way towards the mid. They're going to start chasing maybe for some of those individuals. Again, great splat. Oh, that's 3. And there it is, just like he called it, Soaf.
Yeah, that was a huge triple splat down. Catching 2 with 30 seconds left means that they should be able to get the pressure here. So Eagle Agency will get a lot of paint down. They're even going to send in the Zuka just to try to keep the pressure up. But those respawns are a bit quicker. There's still a chance for a comeback here.
And I think that's the big part about it. When we talk about HGHS, they are so confident. Remember, they won a lot of these upfront battles very, very early on, and already they got 2 right back, and now they're pushing a little bit further in. Really well done from the number 3 seed. We'll see if they actually get it, though, as that's the big question at the end of the day. 2 seconds left, and Game 1 is over. Let's go ahead, go to the tally. We assume we know what it is right now, but yeah, this is good to go by Hazel Green High School.
Well over 50% there. I mean, a lot of that just simply comes off of the back of a bit of passive play out of our number 1 seed. Even with 2 very aggressive dually style plays, it was very clear to see they never really felt comfortable to push in. They'd send in a special, find they got no value, didn't really take advantage of the space. So unfortunately, just kind of never really saw the go button they were looking for. Thankfully for them, we only have 1 turf war, and we are going to be going on to our next mode where maybe they'll feel a little more comfortable.
I think they will. One of the big things about turf wars that I will always talk about and always love is this. It's very simplified, but I've said that before. The reason it's so simplified is there's no secondary objective. There's no like, hey, we got to push the tower. Hey, we got to grab this. We got to grab that. It's quite literally focus on the 4 players running in front of you, knock them out, get the paint down. That's your whole job. That is it, and that's why we were so surprised. But as you called, maybe we get to see a little bit more of that teamwork. Maybe we get to start seeing some of those I want to say confident team movements to come out here, even if they're slow, even if they're quiet. Teams that move together win together.
Well, and that was a lot of it, right? Was for the side of HGHS. They played it very slow, but you could see that they were very deliberate. The communication of someone calling for when they needed help or when they were sending in a special to kind of follow up on it really did come through. going on to Rainmaker, it does mean that two things in particular will happen. Number one, the game may move a little bit faster here because it moves at the speed of the Rainmaker. There's a couple stops as we hit those kinds of checkpoints, one and the end one typically, but all things considered, this mode does move significantly faster. So maybe that kind of slowed down. You have to kind of play for the longer game that we saw out of our number 1 seed. Maybe that just isn't their style. So this is probably more up to their speed, is my guess.
Yeah, and I would hope so. And again, if they don't do well here, then they're down in the hole, and their last safety net is gone. And it's something that does kind of weigh on their minds, I'm sure. We'll see what they can do, and I'm very curious about the weaponry equipment that they'll be running here as well. If it is going to be Rainmaker, I'm sitting there going, okay, maybe you want 1 dually, but I don't see 2. If you do run 2, we better see them very much awake. We are going to ship-shape cargo, so again, a little bit more versatility in terms of the ups and downs that you can work with, a little bit more hideaway spots as well. If you get into the 1v1s, or if you find that Rainmaker, if you find someone pacing away with the Rainmaker, you can snipe him down pretty quickly.
Yeah, this is actually going to be a map where we'll see a lot more value out of something like a backliner, like where, again, controlling these sight lines is going to be so important. So a double front line or a triple front line comp may struggle depending on what comes in the back. But it is worth noting, neither team is running that Tacticooler, so it's not like spawns are coming in particularly faster. I wouldn't be shocked if we did see, our number 1 seed decide that they need to dig into their repertoire and pull out something like that. It does give you a very distinct advantage when you look at just like the sheer ability to kind of play a little bit faster, push a little bit more recklessly, and know that you're going to be back in the fight sooner, even if things go wrong.
If there is a weapon that you would really like to see here, maybe that we didn't see last time, and obviously there are going to be some changes, which one would you sit there and assume that each team needs? And if you don't see it, then you're like, hey, that's probably a really bad comp to run.
So I would say there's one of 2 choices. If you're not feeling like you have a backliner or a midliner, I would love to see an NZAP come out, the gray NZAP 97, I believe it is, because it gives you Tacticooler. It paints very well, and if you have to take a duel, it still can hold its own. You can kind of make an elim within 2 or 3 shots. If you have someone that's more comfortable maybe sitting back and kind of taking in the whole picture, I would love to see a pencil, because a pencil puts down an incredible amount of paint. You charge it up 5 shots, very easy to kind of put down a lot of paint, or kind of make sure you're pressuring a particular spot or maybe helping into a duel while also building that Tacticooler very, very quickly. Given that both teams are running carbon rollers too, I do think that that would be a fantastic adaptation for them.
Yeah, this is going to be... it is a nice change, but you look at the DPS sides. We got dualies, we got NZAP, and the mini Slatling. Like you called for Eagles. On the other side, we got a custom Wellstring, Slat dualies, and then a 52 cal deco. These are... I mean, it's working. These are working really well, but it's such a different stylization on either side.
Yeah, okay, like, here's the thing. I actually do like the 52 gallon. I think that it provides, like, it's a little silly, say what you will, but here's the thing. The just shot itself does work. It's 2 shots to complete a splat, so it does work very effectively. And I do think that the big squid is kind of crazy, and it does work. It can just kind of win. But again, this is going to be a very, very slow-moving comp from the side of AHSAA in the blue. So I would expect them to maybe take this again, try to force it and slow it down, since they want to try to play like a much different game here.
We got 5 minutes on the clock, and immediately we get the back-end duels. Oh, wow. My lord. What were you talking about? What were you talking about slow there? What were you saying there?
Never mind. Never mind. They want to go hard. I respect that. I mean, with a Wellspring, like, that's the thing. With a Stringer, I would assume you're trying to play for a little bit more pick value, but you are showing a Carbon, you're showing Dually, so it's 2 very frontline aggressive, choices that I do think are working. But right now, it is the Eagle Agency who, are struggling to get behind. HGHS are already they're already halfway to the point. I'm kind of shocked here. I would have thought the HGSH was the number 1 seed.
Yeah, well, at the current moment, we are still waiting to see that Rainmaker get picked up yet again, and it does seem like there is a little bit more control right now in the other direction. You can go ahead and see the likes of the Eagles try and chase, but they're chasing a little bit more out in the open. Take a look at this. They get splatted out once again, and then get scattered as well. Curling takes them out. Of course, the resounding damage has netted. Even spacing on both ends, everyone is dropping. This is just a straight-up melee at this point. You wouldn't assume there are ranged weapons here.
Beautiful shot. Beautiful shot out of the Rainmaker there, and I think it's just playing a little bit safely. You know you have the number, and this response came in, so maybe a little too safe there. 3.5 minutes, still plenty of time, but it's going to be a splatter screen now, and that is going to deny so much visibility. You can't push into that, even with a cooler.
You're going to try at least, but there we go again. The Rainmaker picked up here, but 2 dropped very quickly, so the Eagles are starting to get their snipes and are starting to get a lot of their eliminations that they like, but its immediate answer back, Curling Bomb, is going to pop off here and do a lot of damage. This is a well-fought battle yet again. Down goes the screen, side angle battle here in a 1v1, but again, we're watching that Rainmaker. That's what we want to see. It hasn't really encompassed further than just that first checkpoint, but yeah. I mean, both teams battling it out hard.
Yeah, Eagle Agency is, again, they were the ones that kind of wanted to slow it down, so they are slowly gaining that space out, even trading out the end zap. It's still coming together very well. The 2v1 is going to lose out. That triple splashdown, it does get punished, and I think that's a chance. You have a screen. You have a chance to now kind of take this, get control, and catch them off guard here. I mean, especially if they just gave away the hammer like that, this is a great moment for Dionysus to push.
Let's see if they can make it happen right now. They're still taking a little bit of time. That Rainmaker has yet to really push any further in, but they're using that screen. It's going to be knocked out of their hands real quick, like lead still in their favor, and with 2.5 minutes gone. You can see, I think the Eagles looking for a chance to break it out on their own. Quick eliminations of 3. That should be enough room to go ahead and gather up and start pushing back in their favor.
Yes, we haven't seen a team wipe yet, but what we have seen is a lot of several 2- and 3-base picks. I really wish we had just rolled with that hammer. That is one of the easiest kind of set plays you can use, is just to take and follow the hammer with the Rainmaker to get that free space when they're choosing to try to get the damage that was buffed with it.
I think right now that's an okay call. It feels like the Eagles are the ones that are taking this nice and slow, or at least trying to. They understand that as long as they touch that first checkpoint, they're going to be even. It's not that long, and this is coming down to almost like that 30-second margin that you called for earlier. Quick eliminations coming through. Eagles, once again, holding steady in their own, and it's feeling good. Eliminations back, but it's only 1 versus a 2 and 3.
Yes.
Another stagger, as that's going to be the turn.
That's enough, though. That is enough to keep that in position. It did fall a little bit short of that goal line, but it was enough for Eagle Agency to get the lead with a minute, which means this next push is going to be very difficult. This is a very defensive set of specials out of Dionysus, though, so are going to struggle to get this forward.
And there you go. As you called, an immediate 3-wipe back, as that curtain does nothing to deny any follow-up. Really well done by the Eagles, just routing around. And we're down to that moment. All they have to do for the Eagles is play defense. All they have to do is play smart here, and they're going to be real happy. Rainmaker is picked up. They're going to try and round it back and in. And of course, the middle ground is still being fought over here. Quick eliminations of 2 yet again. They dropped the Rainmaker, but it's damage done. And we're waiting for the side of AHSAA. We're still waiting to see them really pop off here with 30 seconds left in this game too.
Yeah, they're really kind of struggling to get it, and a lot of it comes from these rollers who haven't necessarily been able to find that kind of sharking value, that kind of playing into these high grounds. Eagle Agency only need to hold this. They're playing it back. They're just going to play it even safer here. I respect this play. They don't need to push forward. They're not going to get penalized for holding it back, and this makes the most sense. Just play it safe, play for control.
No reason not to. It's going to be one last tag, but I don't think there's enough time, and feels like it's going to be a done and dusted moment. Well played, OT available. But I mean, really, is there going to be enough? It's quick splat, it's quick run. They are going to collect it, but they're going to hang on as much as possible. They're going to try this in a 1v3. Ain't no way they shove this hard. Ain't no way. It's 2 gone, but they dropped it at the very end. It was close. It was very close, and yet it was, once again, the Eagles rightly playing the last minute or so.
That was very, very close, though. Getting that overtime just to kind of trigger up was very, very good. Going into those last 2 picks, again, looked great. That screen usage, I will say, we don't see a lot of screen usage, particularly in the pro-am scene. So seeing that screen used effectively like that was very good. You set yourselves up for a lot of great stealth-based movement, but unfortunately, you maybe got a little too aggressive and pushed into it. So, look, we're getting the full 5, it looks like, Orbital, and I'm happy for that because that means we get to see some more incredible Splatoon action.
Yeah, we talked about it. We said both these teams have been known to actually go the distance, at least in 4 or 5, and we're already reached that 4 mark. Now, the question is, what do they roll with here? Because it did seem like a little bit of the heavy-handed uniqueness factor of HEHS that worked in Turf Wars did not work out here. And I say that with all love in my heart because it was a 50-52. We cannot deny that it was extremely
one of the more closer matches we could have seen at this level. And I think you're right. Like, some of it is the uniqueness, because like I had mentioned, Screen doesn't see a lot of play as a special. Only one of our teams is running kind of the preferred meta of like a tactical or backline or even like a midline. So very interesting to see that. Now moving into splat zones, where it's a similar effect to what we had seen out of Turf Wars, except it's more important to control a smaller area in the center. You can probably escape with some of those similar tactics you've used before, but the problem is you have to make sure you are winning fights. And that was kind of the one thing that I noticed HGHS kind of struggled with, is they would kind of get a pick or two, but then immediately lose it back when the Eagles kind of got aggressive. So chaining fight wins together is so important for completing the 100-point knockout in a mode like Splat Zones.
Yeah, and the fact that it went only to 50 to 52 was very, very fun to watch. Now as we move into Splat Zones, like you were talking about, a little bit different than Turf Wars, of course, but still in that same kind of fundamental understanding. What are we going to be looking at here instead? Because now, of course, we've seen the unique factor, we've seen double dualies, we've seen the 52 Gal Deco, we've seen a lot be tossed out here. What would you hope to see, as I'm only assuming the rollers are going to be front and center once again?
I do actually want to see more out of those rollers. It has been very tough, given what we've seen for these kinds of frontline carry positions like those rollers, to kind of find a lot of value. But what I really do want to see is I want to see these rollers get aggressive. They haven't necessarily been playing out deep in the back line or playing in this position. So I do think that there is a place where you need to get in and create that kind of chaos, be the distraction. Even if you're not getting splats and trading out, just being in the back line and forcing them to turn teams to turn heads does so much value, particularly when a mode where the clock is literally ticking down.
It is such a very, very close moment as we go ahead and dive on in. We got the Brine Water Springs going to be walking out in the Springs here. But as you called, we got the rollers once again. But we're dropping a little bit of knowledge. We got a sloshing machine and then an explosher as well. These are the two new weapons that we're going to be seeing on hand in terms. I believe the sloshing is going to be over on the side of Eagle Agency, and then for HGHS, they are going to be rocking with that explosher. Other than that, fairly standard custom wellstring and a slat dualies as well.
So the sloshing machine is fairly standard. It was kind of one of the dominant weapons early on in Splatoon 3, particularly because Booyah Bomb was very good. It had a lot of pick potential at a medium range, and it still holds its spaces here very well. So I actually do like that. It's a good space-holding weapon. It's a threat at medium levels. The explosher is kind of the same thing, but a little bit further back. I'm going to be very interested to how that plays out, because there are very few teams that can play an explosher and get a lot of value. But the good thing about it is that when that ball of paint lands, it covers a lot, particularly for a small map like Brine Water Swings. You are not safe. This map is so small that these longer range weapons can hit you from almost anywhere.
Let's go ahead and run on in. We got our Splat Zone straight in the middle to start, and it's immediately gonna get covered. And remember, in Splat Zone, it's only the zone that matters. Whoever gets a majority share cover will start taking away those points already turned in favor of Eagle Agency, but the control loss immediately swings right back in favor.
Yeah, this is going to be a very swingy map. Again, this is a very small map, all things considered, and it's very easy to cover it. But Dionysus prefers to play on this map, so I wouldn't be shocked if we see them, maybe swing this back in their favor here.
Current moment, we're seeing that quick test. Oh my lord, that was a quick turn of about 3 and 3.
Yeah.
No real difference there. Booyah Bomb goes out, splats behind though. What a snipe, and a trajectory catch by Sushi. One of the few, and I love that name. Anyone that knows me knows I love Sushi. So gotta love that quick turn, and once again, it is in favor, being held down by the Eagles as they're trying to catch up.
Specials are coming back online. Again, we're gonna send that hammer up. Wow, gets the double with the toss. That's crazy. That's cracked, Orbital.
Sometimes you just gotta send it, but of course the send it also means that you're in a little bit of a troubling position. The Eagles are now taken over in a majority share lead, currently down 260, already dropped 40 points, remaining 57 is gonna be turned over. But no, you haven't lost the control. You're still ticking down, and it's on the side of HGHS to try and get a lead of their own. They need to turn over that zone.
Yeah, and they're gonna throw in the rain cloud to try to do that as well. But as you can see on both sides, there are so many big, just wide paint dropping ultimates to try to keep control of this. There is a 30, almost 40 point penalty for the side of the Eagles, so they have a little bit to go when they get control back. But it's still a bit of a toss-up, especially considering both teams are just trading these ultimates and trading control consistently over time.
Yeah, and I'm almost curious, you know, when they're going to start looking at those picks once again as the 1-for-1 pick in the back line. I love the seeking. They actually took out 2 more behind. What a snipe in a half, and now they go ahead and turn the zone over to themselves. They're going to start wearing away through those 30 extra penalty points.
This is what I was talking about, though, right here, is looking for those rollers, those carbons to get a little more value, particularly with Azuka, and just the ability to kind of get and play in the back lines. You need to make sure you're watching where you're going, though, because if you get caught out like that, you're just going to get punished repeatedly.
Current moment, still a huge job by HCHS. They've been able to turn it around. They're burning through their penalty time. They're about to match up with the Eagles. We're about to be at 48 and 48, but a nice turn at the last second means that the Eagles are fighting back out, and there's our first wipeout of the series. Turn over to Eagles.
Yeah, that was, say, a bit delayed, but it was worth it. That does buy a ton more time for the Eagle Agency Brewery there. Great trade out, and Dionysus are not down and out. Again, this was their map pick, and this is a map they've played so many times before, so I don't think, even as this gets a little bit lower, I think they are still favored on Orbital.
And we keep saying that, and yet we haven't found them find a pinnacle win, a comfortable victory over. We've seen the individuals all the time, but we just haven't seen them really round out as much as possible. So we're still going to see that penalty time drop down for the Eagles. We're reaching about a minute 45. Still plenty of time to play for, but it's been difficult overall. Quick snipe yet again as 2 drop on the side of the Eagles, and maybe as you called, we are going to see Dionysus be able to step up here. 10 seconds left on penalties.
I do want to see them take a little bit more space, though, and just kind of push into a lot of this, what's left of a back line there. They're continuing to find the picks, and particularly this Wellstring has been so key in making sure that they get control. But with that, they have taken the lead, Orbital. So now with a minute 20, they are primed to kind of close this out as long as this continues to tick up.
Time is winding down, and I wonder where the Eagles are. You just called it. You're proving me wrong here. Soab, it could feel like this is going to be the Dionysus side. They lost control for a moment, but they're still in control at the end of the day. They haven't turned over control. Of course, the turnover control is now in favor as I just cursed it. I'm so sorry. Turn in question is here. 20 seconds left on that penalty. We're down to the last 50 seconds.
This is going to flip-flop right until the end, and if Eagle Agency ends up with control, it will go to overtime. Hammer's going to get used this time to clear the point and try to do that. They still continues to get 2. Make it 3. I am so impressed by this Mini. This Mini is getting so much value between the just the Splatling and that Hammer. Just incredible play.
And honestly, that a little bit of that scatter in the death, it's a staggered death phase, and it's causing problems here. It is going to be a turn now. The remaining 35 are taken down here. 12 still in the hands of Dionysus, but there it goes. Another splat, and the bombs come out here. What a slash and a half. He's trying to snipe at the back line, but still control for the Eagles. They might push us straight into OT.
They are going to keep hold of this into OT, so Dionysus just needs 1 win. They are running out of time, though. They have about 30 seconds to maybe kind of make this push. Overtime is live now, and they're going to have to lose some time to go, 2-man down. That makes this tough.
Oh, it does. And right now, we're about to see that turnover. 15-point difference. This could be huge. 1, 2, and 3. Another laser down. No one held on, and it's going to be a turn at the last second. No, it is OTOP. The Eagles fly high and ride all the way from second to first.
Wow, that was a fantastic back and forth from these 2 squads, particularly because it was the Dionysus squad's preferred map mode pick. That was kind of probably one of their better chances to steal that, and that got stolen right away from them in a very hard-fought match. I gotta say, Orbital, I had a little doubts about that Mini and the Hammer in particular going into this. It's not a weapon that sees a ton of use. It's a little bit niche, and typically if you play it, you kind of opt for the more defensive bubble special end, but between those hammer throws and just the ability to kind of zoom in and out and be a distraction like I was looking for, man, that is a talented player. I hope they continue to go on and take that into the future because they have definitely made moves with that Mini Splatling.
Yeah, that's Jeremiah, if you are wondering. We have been having the names in front of us, but it's always difficult to keep track, but they have definitely put a spotlight on top of them. Now we are looking at the side of Dionysus to sit there and go, hey, we got to find something out. We just lost our map pick. We're now going to tower control, and that's a whole different section in and of itself. We've seen the tower control, in my opinion, be one of the slowest maps to ever be played. It's always a constant difficulty shoving that tower, staying on top of the tower, and again, the tower doesn't move as fast as the rest of the map. So again, this pacing of are we going to take opponents out or are we going to play for objective will be called into question.
Yeah, the one thing I will give Orbital, though, for HGHS is we did see out of the earlier maps that they like to play it slow. They want to play defensively, and they want to kind of make sure that they set these fights where they want to take them. Tower control is very great for that. So you can use that screen to set up, play ahead of the cart, let it roll ahead, and then by the time the cart has caught up to where you're set up, you're already in a position to where you want to take your fight. You have your screen, you have any other ultimates you want to use. If you're set up for a bazooka, you're in great positioning. So I do think that there is a little bit of help that can go their way in addition to the map pick, but it is worth noting it is match point Orbital. Like, it's all on the line right now, so this has to be everything right.
I will say the number of times I've been here on the Play versus streams for Splatoon 3 have been near and far between, but I will say I have never cast a Clam Blitz run here in the Play versus Grand Finals. So, I mean, What you?
You really don't. You
yeah,
really
and so sorry,
we don't get
just
to
like,
it often.
I swear I haven't. I swear, like don't call me a liar right now. But I haven't, and so like if these are the two teams that make me do a Clam Blitz or let me do a Clam Blitz, I'll actually be very excited for it.
Yeah, as I say, these two teams have been fairly even, all things considered. The 1 and the 3, sees, even on paper, 1 versus 3 should have a semi-clear winner. Maybe it goes a little bit close, but when you look at the deeper stats, there's not much separating these guys. The HGHS squad only dropped a singular map, and then they beat that number 2. That team was the number 2 seed, then beat them going into playoffs. So you want to talk about like a resilient squad? Like if the HGHS squad are gonna keep this resiliency coming, this is it. This is their chance to.
Yep. We are going to take a little bit longer. We're still waiting to see. I mean, there's a lot of strategy in picking a map out and making sure that you get the right call. So if we are taking a look, I do believe we are going to go to a... I'm going to double check this. So I want to talk about this a little bit more as well because we've seen the number of maps that came out. Yeah. And especially with the fact that we have seen the likes of, I think, Dionysus choose a little bit more squish maps. Which map would you assume Eagles are going to look for in this situation, especially on tower control?
So given what we've seen from them, they're not particularly playing incredibly far back line. They're playing a little bit more like front to mid line. So I want to see them to maybe something like an ink blot where they can afford to play a little bit up, play a little more vertical. You have a roller on your team. You should be using that to kind of play the safety of the lower angles. Most of the time in these kinds of shooter games, the high ground is the safest. Not in Splatoon. You can play from underneath and get punished just from trying to hold the high ground here. So I do think if you want to maybe try to play to your carries strengths or to a place where maybe you can take advantage of like a well-stringer's sight lines, something like Inkblot Art Academy that's very vertical playing, I think goes a long way.
Ooh, all right, a little bit more verticality in there. See if we can get that 1 to 2 to 3 story style play. And if we can, maybe we see a Game 5. If not, then we're sticking at Game 4, and we're sticking at a 3-1 series for the Eagles. Of course, at the same time, we're going to give the players a little bit more time to decide and figure out, and I love that for them. We'll go ahead and go to a short break. When we come back, Game 4 on the horizon. Don't go anywhere. Right back into the action as we are headed to a game number 4. We appreciate everyone's patience as the technical difficulties have gone ahead and been readjusted, and now we do have information. Tower control map is going to be Scorched Gorge, a little bit outside what we originally assumed.
Yeah, like a little bit outside in the sense that it's much wider and bigger than maybe I thought it was going to be, but it is also a very vertical map. I had wanted to see them do something with that verticality, and when you have a big tower in the center where, you know, in addition to the actual tower, but you have a bit of a high ground in the center, and then you also have these kind of high mountains that on either side as you approach the first checkpoint that are very easily defendable from a mid to a backliner. So it's going to be very interesting to see if any changes get made and what that does, because like I said, this is a big map and we haven't seen a lot of very backline snipers, you know, splatlinks like that. So I think the levels of aggression are going to be very important for this upcoming map.
And I really do feel like this is going to be one of the largest variances that we're going to see between long range and short range. We've seen dualies pretty much run exclusively in each of the setups. We've seen someone run some sort of short range, but I would expect to see a couple of the longer range, you know, paints come out here, and I would hope to see them utilized very effectively, just like you were talking about, you know, that tall tower in the center. I would also have to say, if I see double frontline, I'm going to be very surprised. Like, I understand tower push, I get it, and I like having a frontliner, but double frontliner would be a little bit overkill to me when you have to deal with the long range, when you have to deal with possibly chasing down the said long range player.
Yeah. The Explosher, actually, I wouldn't be surprised if that stays, because that did work prior. But like you said, like I don't think we go to frontline kind of carry positions. I would love to see a frontline as support, something that maybe is going to offer like cover, maybe umbrella, maybe even like an end zap to kind of help support, something with maybe like a splash wall, something that can maybe offer a little cover at an off angle. But these teams have gotten here on their own unique choices and combinations, so I'm sure there's something in something planned for HGHS when it gets here.
I like how you had to tailor it back a little bit. You had to be like, it's unique, it's their own, because that is what it is. Yeah, we have to give credit where credit is due. These are not what we see all the time in competitive, but that's what makes a lot of these players very interesting. The Splatoon 3 leagues that we see across in, you know, collegiate or competitive fields versus a high school and middle school are vastly different than, say, if we take a look at like League of Legends, right? When we look at League of Legends, the variance in terms of champion pool and everything like that tends to be pretty small. But right now, we are going to be diving in, and we're going to take a look. We got the Splat Rollers, same still coming out. We got a Carbon Roller as well for the side of HGHS, and then a Clash Blaster, and then a Range Blaster. Still the mini Splatling, though, for Jeremiah, which is all you need to know about Eagles.
Yeah, the double blaster is a very interesting choice. That tells me we're going to be playing these kind of high angles very defensively. You'll use a Clash Blaster because of two things. Number one, it plays very hot into the high grounds very well. So when you're playing underneath the tower trying to clear it off, you can kind of shoot up and it'll explode and clear a lot of damage, and it also does it very quickly. So they're going to play very vertically here, and I think that does work in their favor, not just to control the tower itself, but to control some of these other angles that you'll see on the map.
Let's go ahead, dive on in game number 4, Eagles versus HGHS. It's going to be an interesting one to watch for, as the tower is in the middle and ready to be controlled already off the starting block. A quick paint, and this is the very appropriate call, once again clearing most of your field, but then Eclipse running off on the left side, ready to try and get a little bit of catch, and they actually find one off rip. Very comfortable grab immediately on some of those eliminations, so the Eagles going to take first turn.
Yeah, and that was a very, very quick
wipeout. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that was a very quick wipeout. The double rollers, very interesting. Sushi is going to be deep, and this is that aggression I was talking about, making sure you clear this when you kind of can just set yourself down and then just wait for the tower to catch up to you and just try to play for your picks there. We're at checkpoint 2 immediately. So again, look at how much space they've already captured Orbital, and they're really not losing it.
No, and that's a quick elimination yet again on the back end. So this tower kind of caught in the middle, but it's still in their control. This is one of the most one-sided ways that we've seen this Eagle squad go, and we're finally seeing the eyes of the #1 seed.
Yeah, this is looking like a very dominant seed here. Even with that Booyah Bomb catching several more. I mean, checkpoint 3 is here, and they are pushing up.
That's it.
This is that aggression. This is it. That is the aggression I wanted to see, and the Eagles just decided we are done playing. We want to win, and they did it, Orbital.
We went the timer. We went the timer in almost every single match. Every other one we went the distance. Every single. This one we took 15 total. I swear. The Eagles came out to play. Give them credit where credit is due.
That was a perfectly calculated play from them. They understood that where they had the advantages coming in against 2 rollers and a blaster, like they understood their advantages and just said, look, we see mismatches. We'll take the 1v1s. We'll win them. We know we're not going to do anything. We know you're not going to beat us, so we'll just keep pushing. They took the space like I wanted to see, held that aggression, and were rewarded with that grand final.